Hey everyone, welcome to another episode. I love it, man, and we're on season 2. We'll keep going, and I'm again with Dacoda. How are you, man?
I'm good, buddy. How are you today, Taylor?
I'm good, man. I'm so glad we could make this work, and I'm so excited to talk hip hop with you again, man.
Yeah, here we are. We're doing it.
Speaking of doing it, let the fans know what you've been up to. You've been doing it, man.
So yeah, over the last week since we talked last, I've been messing around a little bit on Spotify, and I whipped up a playlist based on the first 4 episodes that we did. So this is kind of broken down into the same manner of order as the hip-hop evolution episodes that we've been watching. So last week was the end of our first season of hip-hop evolution, and so kind of a tribute to that first season, I put together a playlist, and I've personally been listening to it all day. I'm not tooting my own horn. It's just good music, and I love good music, man. So yeah, that's what I've been up to.
Yeah, and you sent me the link for it earlier this morning, and it was, amazing. And then from this morning to this afternoon when we're doing this, you added some more tweaks, and it looks amazing, man. And I can't wait to share that with everyone who's listening here, because there were so many songs I was looking at. I was like, where did he find this? How did he know this?
Yeah, thank you, man. Thank you. No, it's a labor of love. You know how much I love just getting into the old stuff, and so we were talking a little bit off the mic here. The cool thing about it is when you go back and you listen to these old tracks, you're hearing these different beats. Like you hear some drum beats, or you hear a couple lyrics, and you're like, oh wow, I've heard that recycled so many times in, like, all the way up until today's music. You know what I mean? Like I can go back and count, okay, so I heard that drum, those beats on this song and this song and this song, and you can kind of like lay the timeline from when this was done all the way up to where we are in hip hop today, and it's like, wow, it really is the evolution. Like we're getting back to the origins of hip hop, and this, to me, I feel like this is how all of those great artists felt when they were composing these songs for the first time, because a lot of these drum beats and different samples and stuff were taken from even older music. And I'm getting this excitement putting together this playlist and figuring out the timeline. I feel like that's how these guys were feeling when they were going back and sampling these old beats and writing these rhymes for the first time. And it's just, it gets me hyped, buddy.
Yeah, I can hear in your voice, man. You're over the moon with this, and as you should be. This is a lot of fun. Like, I didn't even make it, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, this is gonna be fun. Just to put this on, whether it's a drive to work or whether it's a drive to wherever. Maybe I'm just gonna go for a drive just to have an excuse to put this on and let the car speakers go, right?
Gotta hear it in that car speakers. Yeah, buddy.
That's right. For sure, man. Like there's, I'm talking Pygmy Markham, pardon me. You know what I mean? Like Kaz Cold Crush, like, oh man, like there's so much. Curtis Blow, like, dude, you're 100% right. This is what they must have felt like as they're digging in the crates, right? Getting into the good stuff, and creating anything in the sense of doing our own mixes or doing our own beats. But like, this is how it would start, right? You listen to a lot of the good stuff, you find some good hooks, some good beats, some good bass, and you put it together, mix it up, and there you go. And yeah, like I actually never thought about the process of DJing like this, but this is how you do it, man.
And thank you for saying that, man. This is how you do it. Like, the more I'm digging into this old stuff, and the more we have these chats about this, to all those listeners out there that think that you can do something like, or wish that you could unlock the potential to do something like this is how they started. This is how all of the greats started. They went back, they were digging through those crates, they're listening to these old tracks, they're sampling, they're playing with the beats. And you're right, like, putting together a playlist like this, it may seem like just a playlist, but that's how it starts, man. This is one of the sparks that lights the flame. For the people that are out there thinking, you've got this talent that you need to unlock, just start where you are. Start where you are with a playlist, man, and see where that goes. Dig through the esoteric and find those gems, and then take it out and play with it a bit.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I love it, and oh man, I can't wait to get into it. For sure, man. Thank you for doing this, and we'll have to put it on the podcast. I think we just called it Hip Hop Evolution, right? Is the playlist?
Yeah. Now that name may change over time. I don't know how many Hip Hop Evolution playlists are out there, but we will definitely keep it in the show notes so that it's up to date.
Like, we were talking off the mic where if it was just me doing it, it wouldn't have the same vibe. If it was just you doing it, it wouldn't have the same vibe. But putting it together, like, it just feels so good, so right, and it's going well. And to be honest, man, you were the guy who got me into Spotify. I did not have Spotify until I met you. I knew it existed. I kind of knew the concept. Oh, well, you could do music, music, great, da-da-da. But I don't even know what I was doing before. Like, I don't even know how I was getting new music or older music in this case. And the fact that we could join forces and expand my mind, immediately get Spotify and realize, wow, this is powerful.
Absolutely. Yeah, man. I honestly don't know how I got by without Spotify before. Back in the day, I had 3-4 binders full of CDs, and before that it was the tapes, right? But like, Spotify is amazing because you have everything. It's a whole catalog of everything that you want, and you don't have to rely on the taste that you had when you were 13 and the CDs that you collected then. You can go back and listen to whatever, right? Like, yeah, no, it's a game changer, man.
For sure, man. Absolutely, for sure. Yeah, like, I think it was just old school, like, when we were young, Napster, and then that got shut down, and then, you find your way, and I guess I guess MTV had music, didn't it? At one point in time, right? Much music also had music.
Before they went reality, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Now it's all reality TV shows and whatnot. But yeah, it's good, and I'm so glad we have this. But yeah, did you want to dive into season 2, episode 1, man?
Yeah, let's get into it.
Yes, sir. So yeah, brand new season here. Still same old Chad doing his thing and interviewing the artists, and this time we're down south, man.
Yes, taking it all the way down to Uncle Luke.
That's right. Miami boy, huh?
Yeah. So Uncle Luke started in the pit, right? Like, kind of the same origins as Kool Herc, as, Grandmaster Flash, Africa Bambaataa. He just started doing his thing with the block parties and what he called the pit, right?
Yeah. Isn't it? And I want to thank you for bringing that up. Is saying similar origins. So we've done New York, we've done West Coast, and now we're down south. I feel like it's deja vu, man. It feels like it's the same thing that gets rap out there. It's, you're having a good time, you're spinning some, discs, you're having fun, and then something happens to you. And in this case, Officer Butler, white
Yep.
cop who's, throwing his weight around, get out of here, you shouldn't be playing that loud music, da 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 da. Next thing you know, you have riots, and next thing you know, hip hop's born. People are talking about this, talking about their life, right? Like, I feel like I've heard this story 3 different times, 3 different places, but the finale is still the same, right?
That's right, buddy. Yeah. Yeah, it's one of those push come to shove things, You can only be silenced so much before you're going to be pushed back. So, yeah, you've got a similar origin story. You've got you got an area where you're living in public housing, you don't have proper standards of living, and not by any fault of your own, but just by the area that you're growing up in. And the natural thing to do when your situation is bad is try to distract yourself with something fun. So here you have a bunch of people just gathering in the pit here. Uncle Luke is spinning, and they're having a good time. Enter Officer Butler trying to shut it down. Again, just another way that people have been oppressed over the years, and it's kind of that same story. Is when push comes to shove and times get tough, that's when you get these massive creative moments, and boom, now you have Uncle Luke taking this thing to the next level. Based off of this oppression, based off of, you've got these Liberty City riot, March 12th, 1983. That was over. There may be different versions of this story, but Uncle Luke says it started here. It started with him spinning, doing this little party, and being shut down. You can't silence people that are already being oppressed and being pushed into a dark corner where you can't see them. You can't silence them from having a good time too. So they come out swinging. Here you are.
Yeah, absolutely. Here you are, man. And I think that situation with Butler and pushing back and kind of getting that freedom of speech, as you will, and being able to say something, right? Because you can't, like you said, push them in a corner and then expect them to be quiet. You took everything else away from them, and now you're saying you can't even have an escape. So yeah, that's what happens next. And the one thing I was seeing too in the show, they talk about no jobs. You're seeing everyone kind of in the poverty housing and waiting in the employment line, getting food stamps, doing all that stuff, and they're trying to have a good time. And yeah, this is what happens, man. And I think he said the first thing he did before he got into the music was bought a disco club. Right, a disco skate club, and at the time there, everyone's like, "Oh no, you're black. You can't own anything. What are you doing?" And he kind of shut that down quick, right? And he showed people around him that, okay, if you work hard and people come to push and you push back, you can make it, right?
Right. Yeah, and he just did. He started where he was. So he took what he was doing in the street, and then if they're going to try to silence us in the street, then okay, we'll buy the club, and that's where we'll have our outlet, right?
Mm-hmm. And then it pushes to 2 Live Crew, and then Uncle Luke joins them, and yeah, that was wild. What are your thoughts on 2 Live Crew, man?
Yeah, so that first single by 2 Live Crew, Beatbox, the California Boys, 2 Live Crew. So these guys, they were anything but PC, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But here you have this crew that when they're out on stage, they didn't really know what to do. So they had talent, but they just needed a little direction. So enter Uncle Luke, and he's like, well, listen, if I'm investing in you guys, I want to see my return. So he gets on the stage and he starts he's doing his thing already, mixing and spinning on the turntables there, and he starts making a part of the show, and that was it. That was like the one piece that they needed to go commercial, to get liftoff per se.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And he just took it to another level. And yeah, Two Live Crew, man. I honestly, and maybe it's just my parents kept me away from there, and maybe none of my siblings listened, but I didn't know Two Live Crew until I was in high school. So
yeah, for sure.
But yeah, they're just. I'm listening. I listen to some lyrics and songs, and wow, just wow.
Yeah.
But of course, it's the same thing, man. Deja vu hits. It crosses over to suburban America. White people getting upset. You got to shut this down. Explicit label. And not only that, they actually tried to shut all of hip hop down. Like,
yeah,
shut it down from no lyrics, no this, no that. Wow, like that took a crazy turn, did it not?
Yeah, this lawsuit. So Two Live Crew, when they joined up with Uncle Luke there, and now they're the legit Two Live Crew. Yeah, some of their records that they were putting out were just dirty, and it was so good, right? So now, with all of this newfound fame, getting commercial and hitting it big, yeah, you got, again, another white oppressive sheriff coming down on these guys. So Nick Navarro, this guy was ready to put them in jail. He was coming after them every way. One concert, Two Live Crew was ready to go to jail, and they were like, yeah, regardless of what you say, we're gonna play this anyways. So they did their thing, and I believe that song was Throw the D.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they played it anyways. So sure enough, they did go to jail, and then that starts that freedom of speech lawsuit. Now this, like you say, is a huge, huge point in hip-hop history. If Two Live Crew didn't win that lawsuit of freedom of speech, hip-hop would be a way different thing today. Because it literally determined whether they were going to be able to say what they want on records, or if everything was going to have to get passed, like you'd have to apply to get your lyrics passed. Imagine how bad music would be if you had to make an application every time you wanted to produce a song. It's literally against everything music, right? Because music is an expression of self. It's an expression of your freedom of speech, and I just can't imagine that being censored. Not to the point where they were trying to. Not to the point of, you have to make an application to get your lyrics passed before you can produce a record. That would be absolute insanity.
It really would be, man. And I can't even imagine that, because I have so many questions of who's the board? Who's the ultimate person that decides? Who is it? Like, because depending on that answer, who's going to get through and who's not, right? If it goes all the way to president, if it goes all the way to governor, if it goes all the way to whatever it is, it just seems ludicrous that could have happened. And you're right, it's an expression of yourself. It's an art. It's an expression of what your thoughts and your beliefs, and when you're being oppressed and when things are getting bad, you turn to music because people are saying what's actually happening. The reporters on the street. Imagine if reporters are sensitized to, and you can only talk about this, and you can only show this, don't show that. It would have been chaos. It would have actually been chaos.
That's very similar to some of the growing pains of journalism as well, right? Like, Here we are, you said it best, here you are you've got the journalists from the streets. You got these poets that are writing what they see. They're giving you this look through the keyhole into what these ghettos are like, what life in these areas is like. And similar to journalism, if the controlling powers have the say on what the story is, where the narrative goes, then that's not true journalism. That's where you get all of these government-controlled medias. It's literally the same thing. Yeah,
It is.
And that's like some foreign stuff to us over here in the land. We're not American. We're Canadian, but I would consider Canada also the land of the free. We have freedom of speech. We have these rights that were fought for back when governments were trying to control the narrative. And yeah, man. No, it's very similar to that, to government control over what narrative gets out, and that would just be a scary place to live. That's comparable to World War II times, to Cold War times. Yeah, that would be terrifying.
It absolutely would be. And the thing I think about, and what Uncle Luke said, you're coming after me because I'm saying, sex and a lot of sex in my lyrics. But there's serious problems going on in the world. Crack addicts dying every day. There's other drug-related problems. There's racism, clearly. There's murder. There's kidnappings. And you're going after people for saying stuff about sex? And I just remember seeing in the hip-hop evolution, like, video there, they're talking, like, there's this white couple saying, this is bad for sex, don't say this bad. The only time you talk about sex is if you're in a good Christian marriage like us. And he, like, grabs his wife by the shoulder, and it's like, what? Like, this is what? So, like, somehow you're bringing this all back to religion, which just blows my mind. But not only are your answer to it's wrong, but you're going after the wrong person. You're going after the wrong thing, right? And Luke made a comment, is it because I own the record label and it's because it's black owned and all the other white label companies? Because in the rock and roll, there's a lot of sex in rock. Like, there's a lot of drug references, a lot of sex references in rock. But why now is it coming out, right? Why now is it why are you coming after me now?
Yeah, why is it a problem now? Because of who's controlling the narrative, for sure.
Yeah. And he made a comment, too. He compared it to his uncle, who owned a painting company. And once it got to a certain size, like once he got to a certain success level, I guess that's what he's looking for, a certain revenue level anyways, people came in and said, whoa, you got to stop here. You can't make more than this. You're black. You can't do this. Right? So I think Luke internalized that and felt the same feeling, like, this happened to my uncle. He got to a certain success level and they shut him down. I'm not going to be shut down.
Yeah. He's seen the fight happen in his childhood. He saw how that worked out, and that's another great example of thank goodness for our hardships, right? Because through him seeing what that was like for his uncle, he had the fight in him. He was ready to take this to the top, and no, I'm not accepting anything less than my own freedom of speech, my own right to say what I want and to make as much money as I want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so good, man. So good that he won that, because I think every other hip hop artist now should, like, give a round of applause for Luke for going through that for us, because here we are because of you. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Uncle Luke is the uncle of hip hop for sure.
That's right. And I remember hearing, was it a Drake beat? Drake referencing Uncle Luke, and I was like, yes.
Yeah.
Pay homage. So
that's right.
Yeah. And so we're in Miami, and next we go to, was it Houston, Texas?
Houston.
Willie D?
That's right, the 5th Ward.
That's right. The boxer turned battle rapper.
Yeah, and he said something that made me really stop and think. We've had this different talk too off the mic before about fighting your way out or writing your way out. And he chose to pick up the pen. Like, this guy had a pretty good boxing career, but here also he had a lot of story to tell. So you can take the hits to the head and sustain brain damage, or you can use that brain and you can come out swinging with your written word, right? He literally wrote his way out of the 5th Ward.
Yeah, we've had that conversation several times off the mic, man, that writing your way out. And I think there's even a song, the guy who created Hamilton wrote a song called Wrote My Way Out, and
That's right.
it was amazing, and I hope everyone can listen to that. Maybe we throw that on the list too, right? Like,
Absolutely.
but yeah, because it's perfect what he said. You know, get your brain beaten in, or use it for your escape and the escape of others, right? Because now your family can go with you, friends can come out, and you can give back. So it's yeah, pick up a pen and go to work. And again, it goes all the way back to, you know, Uncle Luke, where we can do that now. We have freedom of speech, and we can say what we want to say and what we have to say.
For sure. And it's interesting with Willie D, right? Because he was a battle rapper, you know, down in the streets of Houston, and his number one opponent, Romeo the Poet, he said in that episode that without having that other person, without having, it's like Rocky and Apollo, you know, like if without having that person to spar with, he might not have gotten to that level of success, right?
Yeah.
And sure enough, you've got him, Willie D, and Romeo the Poet, enter Steve Fournier, and you got the Geto Boys, right?
Yeah. That's right, man. And how often, because I think we've even had that, like, dude, I think about our talks, our Saturday talks that we had, and how deep we got, because I'm thinking of that conversation of needing that fight, needing that push, and needing someone there so you can go from 8 or 9 to 10, right? 10 out of 10. And just that push. And I think we were referencing maybe Eminem, just a nice little, like, I remember the MGK thing, and it wasn't like, it wasn't even close. It wasn't even I don't even know why I mentioned that person's name, seriously.
Squirt Gun Kelly?
That's right. But it took that push, and I know it's not equal footing, but it was a push that made M come back and write, like, that Killshot, man. That song is still ridiculous. Like, it was no mercy, but it was because he got pushed, and it was like, you know what? I can think of this and think of that and think of this, and he was just on another level. Like, it was wild.
Yeah, that, in my opinion, is what got Eminem off the couch. You know what I mean? Yeah. Get up and work.
Yeah.
And yeah, I totally agree, man. Without Romeo the Poet, would Willie D have pushed his game up? Would Romeo have pushed his game up? Would we have the Geto Boys? You know?
Yeah. The Geto Boys again, another big group with I think it was Scarface, Willie D, and Bushwick Bill.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, what's your takeaway of the Geto Boys?
Yeah, man. I only listened to a little bit of their music through the Hip Hop Evolution episodes, and you know, you go back and I'm sure I will have the same feelings going back and listening to that when I make this next playlist for season 2, that's the starting point of the South. It's where everything else came from the South, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it kind of, in my opinion, much like we were talking about West Coast, last episode, gave it a sound. It gave the South a sound, right? It gave the South a sound that it could identify with, it could cling on to, and could bring more rappers through. Like, they were talking about Willie D, walking around with overalls half down and no shirt on.
Yeah.
And they were saying, like, there's dudes down in Houston right now, this second, same style riding a horse right now.
Yeah.
So it just kind of identified with them, and, you had that southern drawl and, a little bit of country to him, but had a wild flow and was a great rapper.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, so, no, I have a lot of time for Geto Boys, and yeah, I want to listen to some more, and thank you for Spotify existing, and now I can, right?
For sure. Yeah, that's going to be definitely coming out on that next playlist. Absolutely.
For sure. And then I think from Houston, we take a little jog and we go see Bun B and UGK.
Yeah, can we go back to Geto Boys for 1 second, though?
Yeah, please.
So big sound in the South, for sure. But you take that sound and you bring it up to NYC, right? And you had the Geto Boys getting booed off stage. And the reason I wanted to circle back around to that is that's such a big deal, right? Like, New York is the birthplace of hip-hop. So it's kind of like, if you're not accepted there, are you accepted into hip-hop, right?
Yeah.
Now with the Geto Boys, they actually came back 1 year later to a sold-out Madison Square Garden. And they did not get booed off stage that time. But again, there's another example of, you gotta fight for what you want. And if you don't have a reason to fight for it, if you don't get booed off stage every once in a while, are you going to step your game up? Are you going to come out with that sound that gets the NYC crowd moving?
No, that's a great point, man. And thanks for circling back, because 100%, that's it from we were talking about a personal level. That's it from a team level, wow, we actually just got booed off stage. And from the most important place for hip hop. So you go back, you have two options. You either just say, oh, well, we're done, or you take that fire, and a year later, like, that's when they made Mind Playing Tricks on Me, right?
Yeah.
So you take away that booing, and, like, we gotta tweak it. This isn't working, and you come up with the best song that you guys came out with, right? A number one song that still gets a lot to play, especially in the South and even up here too, right? Like, if you have the hip hop stations.
And that paved the way. It paved the way for Southern rap, and paved the way for the next up, UGK.
Yeah.
Pimp C and Bun B. Yeah, man.
Yeah. And Bun B, like, we're talking about sound, and this is even another sound in the South where it's almost like gospel blues hip hop, right? Where
that dewdrop sound.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that was Bun B's beginning, right? Like, he said, Creole, like, I think he mentioned Creole and gospel. So, I'm gonna throw that in a beat, and yeah, like, UGK is another one that I want to listen to some more of, because I only know the front, back, side to side.
Yeah, like, which has been used in so many songs, right?
Right.
Yes.
Right? And it's, again, because we know of this, because we've done our homework, we're doing our homework right now, putting it into a playlist, we can almost do side by side of, excuse the pun, of where it started and where it is now, man.
Yeah, that's huge. Yeah, And Pimp C, rest his soul, like,
Yeah.
that's the man that pushed it. So we wouldn't have Bun B without Pimp C, right? We wouldn't have UGK. Pimp C was the man pushing. He's the one that heard that sound and said, we got to take this to the world. We got to take this commercial. Let everybody hear that the South has something to say.
Yep. And did it ever, man. And yeah, there's a lot of big Southern hip-hop artists because of, Geto Boys and UGK. And I know the next couple episodes will go deeper into that. But yeah, this was their foundation. And it's a huge foundation to hip-hop. Like, it's a huge addition.
Absolutely. So. Yeah, you can't have, like, yes, NYC's the birthplace, but you can't have hip-hop without the West Coast. You can't have hip-hop without the dirty South. You can't have hip-hop without the Midwest, and anywhere else I'm mistakenly not throwing in there. You know what I mean? Like, it is a collective. It's our way of talking, right? Like, these are the journalists from the streets. They are coming out and they're letting you know what's happening. It's our way of communicating what these areas are like. So yeah, absolutely, man.
No, for sure, man. And this was another great episode and one that, like, I think this episode to me was like highlighting stuff I didn't know, right? Like, New York, you knew was the birthplace, and all these artists, like, in New York, I didn't know, but great, I knew New York. And West Coast, I knew, okay, this is the sound. I didn't know how it got there, but, this is how it is. And the South, I just didn't know. I just knew nothing. Like, it was like the first time, like, I think this is our second or third time listening to this, but the first time watching this, I was so out to lunch, I was like, oh, wow. I knew nothing about this, and it was so good that Shad put this together, because now I know, and now I can speak to it and educated, that the South did have a big impact on hip-hop because of this, right?
Yeah, and big respect to Shad. He has become a huge voice for hip-hop, for the history of hip-hop, the evolution of, and absolutely, man, like just simple things like 2 Live Crew, I always assumed was just a Miami, Florida, 305 group. I had no idea that 2 of the members actually came from California, and Uncle Luke scooped them up. Like, yeah, man, just the little things, that you learn along the way. And had we not watched this episode, we wouldn't have known those names of those police enforcement that were pushing back hard on the community either. That, again, it's a shitty situation, and one that I hope not to see happen again, but without that push, we wouldn't have had that shove to have this great creative expression in this music.
Yeah. Yeah, man, it's it all comes together, and I'm so glad for this, man, for sure. No, another great one. I realize, and I have to apologize to everyone listening, is we didn't talk about our homework.
Yes. Good call.
Left it for the end. But yeah,
save the best for last.
That's right. Did you have a chance to listen to Schoolie D and Ice-T?
Yes. Now, both of those are in that playlist I made. And if you go back and listen to that, Schoolie D, man, when you listen to that Parkside Killer track, put that back to back with 6 in the morning, and then go right to hold on, I gotta look it up. Boys in the Hood. Yeah, go straight to Boys in the Hood after that, and listen to those 3 back to back, and tell me you don't hear Schoolie D's his influence coming out through all of that. Like, especially Boys in the Hood. If you put Boys in the Hood up against Schoolie D's Parkside Killer, it's all like you can hear exactly what Ice-T was saying about his 6 in the Morning song. I think that the boys in NWA owe some recognition to Schoolie D as well, because you listen to that song, Boys in the Hood, and it's like it was just written over top of the other song. You listen to them.
I'm gonna have to definitely listen to that, and I hope everyone here listens to that too, man, because wow, like to me it's like generational, right? It started here, went to there, and I can
Big
guarantee you if we do some more research, someone used that track again, right?
Oh, for sure.
So
For sure.
Like that's so cool, and I hope they're paying homage to it, because yeah, that's amazing, man.
Yeah, big time.
Did you have any? Did you want to go first this time of a song that you recommend for homework this week for this season 2, episode 1?
Mine playing tricks on me. Like, let's be real. That's a classic song right there. So yeah, let's turn it around. I'll use that one. Mine playing tricks on me by Geto Boys.
Perfect. And you know what's crazy is that was gonna be my song too. But hey, great minds think alike. Okay, great minds think alike. So I'm gonna go UGK then, and I'm gonna go with the one that's not as popular, but I actually like it. Use Me Up.
Okay.
Yeah, so I don't know if you know that one, but that's the one I'm gonna recommend because that was the first UGK song I heard.
Okay.
So it wasn't even front, back, side to side. It wasn't. That's the first one I heard, and that was like, whoa, this is pretty good. So yeah, I'll go with that one. I did want to leave you with the kind of surprise, and everybody here. I was gonna say it offline, but I was like, you know what? I gotta make Dakota's day today. So
yeah.
I want you to guess, and maybe it's this is a hard one, but at the end of the month in May 28th, hopefully you're off.
Okay.
He is performing, and that's a Saturday, in Waterloo, 1 minute driving, 5 minutes walking from my spot.
Okay. Who do we got? I wouldn't even know where to start. Like, my mind is racing.
So maybe I should say he's Canadian, and he's had a big part with hip hop evolution.
Is it Shad?
Yep.
No way.
Yeah.
Buddy.
Yeah, so we need to do some talking here, and maybe you can make something work. But, yo, like, Shad is coming here May 28th, and I don't know the format. Like, it's a pretty small venue, so I feel like it's pretty personal. So I would love it if my boy was next beside me and saying, hey, we have done a podcast based on what you've done. Peep it. Or just not even front ourselves, but just say, hey, we really appreciate what you've done because you taught us about hip-hop. Man. Something like that.
Absolutely.
So I truly think things happen for a reason. I truly think that April would have been really tight. It's really busy here. But end of May, I got time. So let's chat about it, maybe offline. But I just want to let everyone listening here know Shad is coming to town, baby.
All right. Yeah, I'm excited for that. Damn. Awesome. Yeah. I can't believe you throw this at me while we're live.
Yeah, I think.
Man, you expect me to keep cool? Damn.
Maybe I should cut it right here, right? Before you just start screaming and getting excited, right? So I'll keep you intact. I'll keep your dignity intact. You got it?
All right. Yeah, don't let me fanboy over here. Come on.
That's right. Awesome. I hope everyone enjoyed this episode. I know Dakota and I enjoyed doing this. We'll be back again soon. Dakota, how are you feeling, buddy?
Oh, I'm on one, buddy. This is good. I love this. It's for the love of it. So, yeah buddy.
100%. Yeah. Awesome. So take care, everyone, and we'll be back soon, okay?
All right. Signing off.
Signing off.